What's up, guys? Welcome to the Coach Z Athletics Podcast in association with Coach Todd Kelly Consulting. Super excited for you guys. We come to you every single week with tips and tricks that are going to help you through this whole recruiting process. And got a real good topic for you guys today. That one thing that you definitely do not think about, and it can make a huge difference. We always talk about pushing out all your content, your information, your highlights, your emails, social media, all that kind of good stuff. And sometimes you're not going to get a response and you get frustrated and move on. And so we want to make sure and give you a little clear idea of why you may not be getting any responses from these coaches and recruiters and anybody out there you're reaching out to. So I'd like to start off like this. Coach Kelly, what's going on?
Not much. Just happy to be on today, man. Happy to be to share some information. And enjoy this time. Hey, it's a little bit cooler in Dallas now, man. So it's in the 80s, so it's not quite 100 anymore. So a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. So listen, so what we really want to talk about today is we want to talk about a recruiting timeline. And so a lot of young student athletes, parents, and even some of you coaches that may be on this podcast. So what is a recruiting timeline? So understand at the next level, whether it's Division I, Division II, all the way down, there's a timeline where they're going to be heavy in recruitment. They're going to be soft in recruitment, and they may not just be pushing recruiting at all. And so we want to kind of give you an idea of how that looks, so it can help you, because like we were saying earlier, when you're pushing out content, obviously, you want to get as much response as possible. It helps you with your psyche, keeps you motivated, keeps you inspired, keeps you pushing through this process, especially if it's some of you young student athletes that are starting a little bit later in the process. We want to put this in more perspective. So when you guys are getting frustrated, you can say, oh, wait a minute. So there actually is this thing called a recruiting timeline. And there's only certain times where coaches will really be putting time into recruiting, because listen, coaches just can't in some capacity, some cases, they can't recruit you. They can't because of the rules. And yes, there are some schools that do follow the rules still, but they just can't recruit you. So I want to pull something up real quick. Let's see here. So to kind of give you guys an idea of the recruiting timeline. So I know it says Division I football subdivision. Don't pay so much attention to that. I want you to get the general idea of what we're trying to, convey or pass on to you guys. Obviously, so if you look on the left, it talks about specific dates. This is the most updated, by the way. So this is on ncaa.org. There's no special anything I put together. You can go and find this. As you can tell, got August 31st, got September 1st to the 31st, December 2nd, so on and so forth. This is for the entire year. And as I pull up the next couple slides, you'll get an idea of what I'm talking about. Now, I want you guys to fix your attention. I want you to pay attention. Go look to your right. So it says recruiting periods defined. I want you to really pay attention to that. And everything is color coordinated throughout this. So listen, so obviously you got quiet period. Quiet period is that period of time when it is permissible to make an in-person recruiting contacts on the member institution's campus, no in-person, off campus. You guys get the idea. Just make sure, I'm going to hold this up, make sure and read that right there, because that's super important. Next is a dead period. Dead period is that period of time when it is not permissible to make in-person recruiting contacts for institution campus or permit official or unofficial visits by prospective student athletes to an institution. Then evaluation period, which in my opinion is the most important, because obviously coaches want to put the most time in getting to know you through whether it's the social media emails or your highlights, and then start that communication process. Everything is always an evaluation. Remember that. So whether it says it on this the timeline, it's all an evaluation. Your contact period, right? Where coaches are actually going to put that true contact into you guys. It may be that first or that second, in between the first and that second visit when they come to your high school. But they're going to put more time into the contact. And Coach Kelly, just jump right in. Sorry, I'm just kind of just chatting through this whole thing here.
Oh, no, that's fine. That's fine. But no, this is great, because I think a lot of people don't understand the differences between, like you said, quiet period, dead periods, live periods. And like you said, a lot of student athletes will be emailing coaches and may wonder why they don't get responses. But just keep in mind, this is for the Division I level, like for the Division III level, for the NAI level, for example. There aren't many live and dead periods because you essentially can recruit the entire school year, the entire time if you're at the NAI or Division III level. And Division II has a little bit more restrictions than the Division III and NAI, but certainly way less restrictions than the Division I. So just keep in mind when we talk about live periods and dead periods, the Division I has the most strict, most kind of most structured timeline for recruiting, more so than those other divisions. So it's really important to understand when the live period, dead periods, and also keep in mind this is just for football. Every sport has their own live and dead periods. So if you're an athlete from a different sport other than football, go look at the NCAA website and find your sport and find when the live and dead periods are for your specific sport. That way you can be educated about when it's live, when it's dead, when it's a quiet period, when it's evaluation.
Yeah, super important. So the next slide here just keeps progressing through it. And like Coach Kelly said, I think it's really important to understand that there are different divisions. They have different rules and different just rule sets when it comes to, getting contact from coaches. Now, when we say this with Division I, Division II, all the way down, make sure that you're reaching out. You've already figured out, the schools that you're wanting to reach out to. We've already kind of went over that a little bit. I'll say it right here, but make sure, depending on where you're located throughout the country, find the closest schools closest to you. It doesn't matter what division, and start building that contact base with them. And then obviously you'll start getting dialogue. They'll come by your schools and so on, but make sure you're already reaching out to these schools. And then obviously, like Coach Kelly said, go to the NCAA website, ncaa.org, and see, the different divisions and kind of what's going on. But generally speaking, I mean, we're week 2, week 3, some schools week 4 into the season, the football season. And that's very specific. I'm glad Coach Kelly brought that up, but making sure that while you're going through this, that, you obviously know where you are in this process. And I believe this is the last slide of everything, but this is kind of just a year-long timeline, kind of give you an idea. Like I said, it's only Division I. It could be, go on the website. There's Division II, Division III, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, NCAA has all the different sports on there. So, but you're getting a general bird's eye view of what you got. You notice everything is color coordinated. We talked about it a minute ago. With, let's say in August, you've got your dead period. Now, keep in mind, coaches are still saying, hey, drop XYZ into my DMs. I'm checking out film. We'll shoot out invites, whatever. But make sure you guys are checking out the NCAA website.org to kind of get an idea of, just overall what these schools are doing. Because like we said earlier, and I won't draw on too much about it, but just making sure that when you guys are going through this process of putting all your information out there, when coaches can and cannot actually start the recruiting with you or get back to you. Because I can tell you time and time again, and Coach Kelly, I'll let you jump in here, but kids all the time are going to make the mistake of, well, coach hasn't responded to me, so I just moved on, right? And that's why we're bringing this up and bringing it to you today. And what happens is then later on down the road, maybe a coach does reach back out and you have already kind of told them no in your head, and it just creates more of a hassle for you. So, yeah.
And one thing I want to throw out is, obviously this is the football calendar, but just one thing from a basketball standpoint, like right now, for example, is an evaluation period for Division I basketball. Like this is what's called the open gym period. So in September and October, coaches are allowed to come out and evaluate student athletes at their high schools in the open gym setting to be able to get a good look at prospects. So this is a huge evaluation time for Division I coaches on the basketball side of things. And then obviously with football, this being, the beginning of the season, this is obviously a huge period for student athletes to be able to perform, to be able to get good film out there, to be able to send the coaches. So, but yeah, like Coach Z said, if you email a coach and they don't respond, feel free to email them again. But also make sure that when you're emailing them, be aware of what time during the year it is, what time during the season it is, and not only necessarily live periods and dead periods. And obviously coaches are recruiting year round because recruiting doesn't stop, but also just be aware of kind of when coaches are more likely to respond, because obviously coaches are in the middle of the season right now, so obviously they're recruiting, but they're focused on game planning and practicing and things like that, and really focused on the players they have on their roster right now. And obviously recruiting is a little bit secondary. Now, obviously, once the season ends, recruiting will step up a little bit. So just kind of be aware of what period in time you are, whether regardless of the live and dead periods, just kind of know what part of the season you're in.
Again, and so Coach Kelly brought up a good point. I'm going to bring it up one more time. Just understand the sports season that you're in, whether it's fall, winter, or spring. Obviously, you guys know more than I do with what you've got going on within your sport. But just understand, in the fall, you've got your football, volleyball. Some have soccer.
Yep.
Yeah,
Soccer,
cross country.
Yep. Maybe golf.
Yeah. So, yep. So make sure and go and check it out. And then if you're in a winter sport or you're in a spring sport and you're watching this, you are ahead of the game. So make sure that you guys are already getting dialed in because, coaches are going to be doing what they're going to be doing, but you guys are already ahead of the game when it comes to everything because you should be already getting prepared for your season, should be still working out, doing your explosive movements, doing all the training, but everything should be getting dialed in online. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, straightforward, Coach Kelly does the presentations. He's a monster at that. And I'm also doing a little bit of presentations. The majority of kids that I see in person, they all want to play at the next level, right? Of course, that's why they're there, in the seminars. But when I go and I look up all their information, I look at their profiles on social media, when I look up anything that has to do with young student athletes, it's a small percentage that actually have done the little things, making sure the profiles are dialed in, making sure you got your highlights ready to go. Out here in California, you should be in week 3, which is always the big week for you seniors, especially if you haven't gotten this dialed in. Week 3, you got to have your first 3 games. You got to have the best highlights on there. And a lot of kids don't even have anything started, squared away. So you got to do the little things. And you guys have time. It's just whether or not you want to take it serious. You never want to get to a point through this whole process where all of a sudden you have nothing. And you don't, and you get to a point where you're like, oh, wait, maybe I should do this now. Right. You need to do it now, not later. You need to do it, yesterday. So I always want to give that little pep talk because it's so important, man. And so listen, I'll just land the plane like that. Me and Coach Kelly, like I said, we're going out, we're doing these seminars. Coach Kelly is going all over the nation. He's not keeping it local necessarily. He's staying local, getting some local work in down there in Texas, but going throughout the country. So make sure you guys check him out. Kelly College Consulting, TX.com. It took me about 4 weeks to remember that. Go check out CoachZathletics.com. I know I used to be Walk-On Warrior, had to change that. It's a long story, but CoachZathletics.com. We got free strategy sessions. You guys can come on. You guys can schedule it and reach out to me. We'll do a 30-minute free session. And we'll go from there. So listen, reach out to both of us if you guys want our services. And listen, we're doing a lot of big things out there. There's not a lot of folks out there that have the honesty and integrity that we do. We really stand upon that. And we're here for you guys, giving you some free content. And follow us online, Coach Kelly on IG, Coach Kelly on Facebook. We're both on those. Check out our websites, and we'll knock this thing out.
Right. So. And I want to let me add something before we leave is that, and I know Coach Z, you brought up a lot of good points about recruiting, is that every student athlete, you should be spending, I would say 15 to 30 minutes every week on your recruitment. And what I mean by on your recruitment is that sending, that 15 to 30 minutes can be spent, sending emails to coaches or updating your athletic resume or updating your Twitter profile, adding new stats or updating your film. Like Coach Z said, this is 3rd week coming up for a lot of student athletes, 2nd, 3rd week. So you should have some footage, some game footage for this season right now. So you should be updating that footage. You should be, doing a lot of other things in terms of for your recruitment, just evaluating some schools, looking at schools' rosters. If it's schools that have reached out to you, go look at their rosters, see who they have on the roster, that play your position, see what their stats are, see who the starters are and what year in school they are. So every week you need to be spending 15 to 30 minutes on your recruiting, whether it's doing any of those things I mentioned, updating email, sending emails, updating your Twitter, updating your film, reaching out to coaches, whatever the case may be. But you need to be active and spending a certain amount of time every week on your recruitment, because if you're not, then, other kids will pass you by and other kids will get recruited by the schools that you should be getting recruited by. So make sure you spend that time every week doing something to help your recruitment process.
Love it. We got good stuff for you guys. Definitely take it to heart. Use it. It's going to take you to the next level. We're guys from the inside out. I coach to the collegiate level. Coach Kelly coach to the collegiate level, at the sport of basketball. And listen, we're dialed in for you guys. And so Kelly College Consulting, tx.com, Coach Z Athletics. We're here for you guys. Check us out on social media. And we always like to end the podcast like this. You know, it's not about me or Coach Kelly. It's about you guys. We'll see you guys in the next podcast.